Hi, welcome back. I'm Rich Bontrager, the Uncivilized Pastor, and welcome back to my video blog page. And, I'm sure you've probably met someone like I have that it just seems like they always land on their feet. No matter what happens in life, it seems like there's always those people that no matter what curveballs, tough times, maybe it's a divorce, maybe it's a financial disaster that happens, but no matter what, they can go from upside down to back on their feet, and they always come out ahead. Or it seems like they always come out ahead. Now, have you ever wondered about how that's possible? See, because it doesn't work that way for me. I know a lot of people, they always seem to land on their feet, but sometimes it's a little bit tougher for me. Maybe it's like that cat. Now, years ago when I was a young kid, and I'm not endorsing this or asking to go do this, but how many of you ever took a cat, held it way up in the air, and you had the legs up in the air, and they're pointing the wrong direction, the cat's screaming and yelling, and then you let it go, but that cat would somehow go from upside down to right side up, and it would always land on its feet. It's amazing. I would love to learn how to be like that cat. To be upside down, just flipping around in life, but somehow always know that I can land on my feet and turn things around. Now, I think there are possible ways of doing this, and one way is that I turn to the Bible. I turn to God's Word, and I look for life examples. And there's a guy named Joseph back in the Old Testament. And Joseph was a guy who did not exactly have the best of life. It was not an easy life at all. In fact, his brothers didn't like him at all. See, Joseph was a dreamer. And that's probably the first thing that I think helps people land back on their feet, is being a dreamer. You're always forward thinking. You always believe there's something better, greater that's going to happen. Never lose that. No matter what happens in life, never lose the idea that God has something better planned for you. And Joseph really did believe that, because he kept having visions and dreams. And the dreams affected his relationship with his brothers. And his brothers got so tired of the dreamer that they beat him up, they threw him in a hole, and then they eventually sold him. But they also tore up his clothes, and they made it look like he had died, like a wild animal had eaten him. And they even lied to their father, saying a terrible thing has happened. But Joseph never lost hope, because he believed in the future. He believed in a vision that something was still going to happen, that God was going to work things out. So even when we're upside down, even when you feel like there's no one in control, be encouraged. Know that God does have a future. The Bible talks about, I have good things waiting for you. Now, another thing about Joseph is when your life is upside down and you feel like you can't land on your feet, Joseph was a guy of integrity. See, Joseph ended up being sold off into slavery, and that's not exactly a great career path, okay? Let's be honest about that. But he ended up working for the second most powerful guy in all the land of Egypt. And Joseph rose through the ranks, and because of his integrity, because of his work ethic, he applied himself, and the owner of the home, Potiphar was the guy's name, Potiphar makes him his #1 in command of all the household. Everything he has, he's got control of. I mean, it's a pretty good gig, isn't it? That he goes from being sold off by his family, by being rejected, to now being the #1 guy in a household in a foreign land. But Potiphar's wife was the original desperate housewife. This woman wanted Joseph. He was young, he was attractive, he was probably pretty strong, he was a slave, he was a hard worker. And she kept hounding him and wanting him to come to bed with him. And he kept saying, no, it would be wrong. I can't do this. And Joseph finally just says it. It would be wrong before God and Potiphar, your husband. See, Joseph really didn't care if anyone else was around or not. And that's kind of what the lady was trying to have happen. No one else was around. No one will ever know. See, someone will always know. God will always know, and you will always know. And a person of integrity, you're just never going to cross that line. So no matter what comes your way, no matter what compromises, what opportunities that look pretty slick and pretty neat, people of integrity, you land on your feet. Because you don't compromise, you don't waver. You never, ever give up. Because that's just not within you. Now, the other thing I think helps people land on their feet is when life gets turned upside down, when it doesn't go the way you intend it to be, we get angry, we get bitter, we want revenge, we want to get back at someone for the wrong they've done to us. Now, in Joe's life, it'd be very easy, if he ever had the chance to see his brothers again, to take revenge. Oh, I'm sure there was nights he wrestled with that and wondered what would happen if he ever saw him. Well, Joseph landed in jail. Again, upside down life, lands in jail. He made new friends. He was forgotten by these friends. But eventually he gets out of prison. So he has a record. He has a history. But he becomes the second most powerful man in all the land of Egypt. Pharaoh, the king, is number one. So Joe is kind of like the vice president of the country. And a famine hits the land, and Joe's family needs to come to him and ask for food, for water, for grain. They need this vice president to help them out. And Joe recognizes them, and he's got a choice. Is he going to get revenge, and is he going to go after him, or is he going to forgive him? And I think people that land on their feet are people that know how to forgive. See, Joe forgave them. He released them from the pain. He released them from the hardship. And he released himself from that bitterness, from that feeling that would nag and haunt many of us throughout our lives. The sad part of the story is that his brothers never fully forgave themselves. And they always were waiting for Dad to die. And they thought Dad was the one that was kind of forcing or making Joseph forgive them. So when their father died, they thought, wow, here it comes. Joseph's going to get his revenge. And it tells us in the book of Genesis, where this story comes from in the Bible, that Joe wept because his brothers never really got it. And he made it very clear, I really forgive you. I've already forgiven you. See, he was back on his feet. He was rock solid. So the next time maybe life doesn't go the way you expected, I hope that maybe this will help you out. You know, take some of these life lessons and apply them to yourself. And if you want to learn more about this, go to the book of Genesis. It's the very first book of the Bible. Chapter 37 begins the story of Joseph and his family. And it ends when the book of Genesis ends. So it's a very easy read. It's a very exciting story about a real man that lived, and he learned how to always land on his feet. I hope this has been helpful. And hey, if you would, click subscribe, click like on the YouTube page as we add more videos and more teaching life lessons. Or maybe you want to learn how to bring the uncivilized pastor to your school, to your church, maybe to your organization to have one of my teaching seminars. Please send me an email, rich@richbontrager.com. Or you can just go to my main webpage, richbontrager.com, and you can just go exploring and learn more about the uncivilized pastor. I hope this helps you out. I hope you have a great day, and we'll see you next time right here on the Uncivilized Pastor video blog page.